Welcome to this week's Q&A. Great question. We've got a viewer from Singapore who owns investment properties in Australia saying, look, they say rental values are going up, rents are going up, why are the yields coming down? And it's not quite that simple. It depends where your properties are, as different markets are behaving very differently in terms of both rental values and rental yields. So if we look at it on a national basis, in the year to the end of August, national rental values have gone up around 8.2% overall. That's quite different between capital city markets and major regional markets, and also within all the various states or state capitals. So we need to look at that because Sydney has escalated or increased about 5.9%, but then places like Darwin, rental values have increased by over 22%. Perth, another very strong market, up about 15%. But we've got to look at the background to what's happened there over the prior time. So if you look at, for example, Darwin, I mean, property values there are still over 15% below their actual peak, which was reached in May 2014, so over 7 years ago. Similarly, Perth also reached its peak around June 2014 and still well under those values more than 7 years later. So if you look at the inverse relationship between capital values and yields, it makes a lot more sense. Currently, Sydney has a rental yield of around 2.5%, but if you have a look at what's happened to property values in some of those markets, it starts making a lot more sense to you. And even though we've had this rapid increase in rental values overall, the highest for many years in Australia, rental yields have actually compressed by about 45 basis points, and that's due to values rising more quickly than nominal rental amounts. So if you look at it in that context, and especially for people who own rental properties in the various markets, they'll know that if they have a rental property in Sydney and one in Melbourne and one in Brisbane, that rental yields are quite different, but that depends on those capital values. So it's not just that rents keep going up and yields keep coming down. If you're the owner of that asset, it's actually a pretty good situation that you're in, because that means the value of that asset is increasing even more rapidly than the amount of rent that you're achieving for it. And that's why I say most of the capital city markets are yielding around 4% at the moment. So Brisbane, Adelaide, Canberra, Perth. But then you've got markets such as Darwin, for example, yielding over 6%. But that's only because, as I said, the capital values in Darwin of property there are still languishing somewhat well below the peak that they reached in May 2014. Perth similarly has had a bit of a situation that's similar to Darwin, and both of those states are quite dependent on what's happening in the mining industry. So different set of circumstances to, say, the East Coast capitals and major regional markets there. But I hope that sort of helps people understand what happens in relation to rental yields and what your property is worth and how much rent you're actually receiving for that particular investment property that you might own. So please, if you need some more assistance with that, we can help you do a quantitative analysis that looks at all of those factors, and perhaps will put you into a better position to maximize the efficiency of your own property investment portfolio, to see if you're doing the right things or if you can add to that, or just look at it overall in terms of your whole, I suppose, asset portfolio and what you want to achieve over time. Look forward to all the questions again for next week, and hopefully we'll pick another really interesting one for you. So all the very best. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click like. I'm Andrew Unterweger from Wise Guru. All the very best.